What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Having a good Wednesday. It's 24 hours after Manchester United's 3-0 victory over Bournemouth at Old Trafford. There will be a match day reloaded coming later today. Don't you worry. We've got all the breakdown, the quotes, the stats, the reaction. That's all coming later today. But it is transfer season. It is January. And there is still some rumblings of the world of Manchester United when it comes to transfers. The latest possible search for a striker and attacking option. We did see Anthony Martial go off last night and people worried. We've got an update on that coming later today on Matchday Reloaded. But we are clearly still in the market for a striker. And there has been some links to possibly a return for Memphis Depay. We spoke about Olivier Giroud yesterday. David De Gea had a fantastic game last night as well at Old Trafford, but we still could be interested in a goalkeeper. Going to talk a little bit about United's victory as well. We've got plenty to get into in an abridged version of the transfer view this morning, so be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. Remember, you can join the UV Members Club as well. Links in the video description. It's also everywhere. You can get your badges, your emojis, your exclusive members-only content too. You can get the flip-flop emoji, the KG emoji, with and without hair, the flex emoji. I've got an emoji. There's a Marcel's porridge. There's the crackhead. There's the Mina emoji. There's so much stuff going on in the Members Club. So if you haven't already, be sure to join as well. You will not regret it. Hope you're all feeling good though after last night. There's some positivity surrounding Manchester United at the moment. Maybe not as much as what KG's saying. That we're in a title race. But as I mentioned, we'll touch on that later today on Matchday Reloaded. What we're here to talk about is transfers. And we're going to start off talking about, as I mentioned, a striker search that continues for United. And possibly we're going to be revisiting the past. They say you should never go back. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's not the case, but it could be the case for Memphis Depay. Not the first time we've been linked to our former striker. Of course, he was brought in under Louis van Gaal. Stayed for a few seasons before leaving to go to Lyon. He's currently at Barcelona, but he could be an option to bring in a cut price deal in January. This comes from The Athletic, from Laurie Whitwell. So it is certainly well sourced, saying that Manchester United are hoping to bring a forward in during the transfer window. However, they do not want to break the bank. Of course, we know the financial issues are what they are at the moment for United. Memphis Depay, once of Manchester United, is a potential option, but the Dutchman having just 6 months left on his contract, Barcelona could consider a move for him at a cut price. So certainly, it's a bit like, and as again, United are clearly in for a type in January. I spoke about this the other day with Flex. I can't remember which day it was. It might have been Monday. Saying that when you think about it, we're clearly looking for our profile of player in the sense of, look, we're looking clearly for an attacking player. We're looking for a striker or someone that can play up front rather. Not even necessarily a bona fide number 9, just someone that can play that role. Whether it is Thuram, who can play off the left, but he can also play up front. Whether it's Olivier Giroud, we know what he's capable of. Whether it's João Felix, whereby, again, not a traditional number 9, but he can play that role. Same with Memphis Depay. He can play across the entire front line. As his career's progressed, he's played more and more as a striker, I suppose. But the key thing here, and I suppose the same thing that we keep seeing with these kind of deals, and it'll be the same for this Yan Sommer deal that we're going to talk about later on in the show, is that we're either looking most likely at loan deals, so temporary deals that won't cost as much as a permanent transfer, a bit of a loan fee, cover the wages or at least part of the wages, and then they'll go at the end of the season once we have new owners and we're really reevaluating what we want to do in terms of our summer transfer plans. That's one option, but the other option, as is the case with pretty much everyone we're going to talk about today actually, is players that are out of contract in 6 months' time. So they would be available for a cut price deal because the club which they're currently employed by is looking to get something for them as opposed to nothing in the summer. And that's the case with Memphis Depay. I mean, we were linked with Memphis during the summer transfer windows, particularly when things weren't going well after those first 2 games and United were panicking and there was a feel and there was a need. Again, we need a striker now. We needed a striker in the summer. It was well documented. We were in for Darwin Núñez. And once we didn't get him, the general consensus was from United that there wasn't another available or attainable striker that we could do a deal for. So the mindset was, okay, we'll have to wait till next year. We'll wait till next year. We'll get to the end of the season. We'll go for another striker again. What they didn't anticipate, and I guess more fall on the United hierarchy because this was always bubbling, this was always coming, but they didn't anticipate the Ronaldo situation going how it went. They didn't anticipate Ronaldo leaving in January. That was not the plan for Cristiano Ronaldo to leave in January. And when that happened, they were like, oh, we still need to do business, but we can't afford to do business anyway. So that's left us in the position where we are looking at loans, and we are also looking at these kind of deals whereby it's, look, Memphis Depay is going to go on a free in the summer. We'll give you 5 million. See if we'll take him. Would I take Memphis Depay for 5 million? Well, let me know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below while I kind of ponder this one. Would you take Memphis Depay for 5 million? I mean, that's a price that I've made up. That's not the price that's been quoted. That's cut price. Do you know what? I probably would. I probably would take Memphis Depay. I mean, how old is he? He's still got, time left in his career. It's not as if he's ancient by any stretch of the imagination. When he was first United, it didn't work out. He's 28 years of age. He's 29 in February. So he's not past by any stretch of the imagination. Some of the players we've signed this season, Casemiro and Christian Eriksen, they're past 30. Now, I'm not saying Memphis Depay is the same level as Casemiro and Christian Eriksen, because I don't think he is. But certainly he's an option for a cut price. Why not? I mean, we saw last night Manchester United, and I know it's Bournemouth at home, but we saw Manchester United defeat Bournemouth with a back four that played under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think we need to get out of this mindset of they didn't perform previously, so they can't perform again for United, because Erik ten Hag clearly has this ability to get the best out of players, whether it is Luke Shaw, whether it's Aaron Wan-Bissaka, whether it, even last night, whether it was Maguire and Lindelof, not that, the centre-backs played particularly well, but they kept the clean sheet. Whether it's David De Gea, whether it's Marcus Rashford, the difference we've seen in him. Martial didn't have the best game last night, but he has been scoring goals and getting assists. So who's to say if Memphis Depay came back to Old Trafford, who's to say Erik ten Hag couldn't get the best out of him? Who's to say Erik ten Hag couldn't bring something out of him? For a cut price deal, why not? Why not? Now, obviously, I would be a little bit concerned about wages. I think I would say, well, what kind of contract are we looking at here? I don't want, sometimes with these cut price transfers, sometimes the agents and the parties involved go, well, you're not paying a massive transfer fee, so hey, why don't you give us a big wage? And Memphis Depay shouldn't be breaking the bank in terms of wages. That might be a sticking point. Again, financially, we are very, very light at the moment. So as a total package, I don't know what that would look like. Again, we don't have really the financial details on that. But in terms of an option, if you said to me, get nobody or get Memphis Depay, I'd say get Memphis, because even next season, if we go big in the summer, and under the new owners, the expectation would be that we would go big in the summer, still having Memphis Depay as an option from the bench, that's a good option to have. It's a squad game. We saw that last night. Erik ten Hag made 4 changes. He rotated and he won. We've got a lot of games coming up. That will be the same next season. Fingers crossed, we'll make top 4. That will mean we'll be in the Champions League. That will mean we'll be in, obviously, the Premier League, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup. So there's still going to always be plenty of competitions. And when we look at the teams that have been successful in the Premier League over the past few years, particularly a team like Manchester City, you can always look to their bench and go, man, that's a bench. They've got quality players. And to have Memphis Depay as an option off the bench next season would be a good option for United. And ultimately, it's the cop-out whenever we talk about transfers. But if he's someone that Erik ten Hag wants, then you hold your hands up. So I wouldn't be opposed to a Memphis Depay deal. Again, there would have to be certain parameters, like, as I mentioned, the wages that I would be looking at there. But on a cut price fee, who knows? Who knows? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. Keeping in line with this striker search as well, Olivier Giroud. Now, we did speak about this one yesterday as well, and it was interesting, actually, because when we did the poll, it was Flex, KG, myself, and we opened it up to you guys, the UV community. And we put a poll in the chat, and near enough, maybe I'm missing out a couple of percentages here, but near enough, it was about 50-50. It was about 50-50 in terms of people saying, go for him, or people saying he's too old, he's 36, replacing a 37, 38-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo with a 36-year-old Olivier Giroud is madness. And I understand that. We actually put it out on our Twitter account as well, at United View TV. And actually, the sentiment on there, and it's interesting to see how opinion can change per platform. And on Twitter, the general sentiment was no way, don't do it, don't go for him. So I thought that was quite interesting as well. But a bit of a development when it comes to Olivier Giroud after yesterday's really first stories linking him to a possible move to United. And again, it's very much, I'd be surprised if this one happened. But according to Foot Mercato, which is an outlet based in France, Manchester United have tested the waters for Olivier Giroud by asking for more information on him. It hasn't gone any further at the moment, especially since United wants a loan. Now, a loan would be somewhat difficult because, again, and this is when I say United clearly have a type in this transfer window. It's either a loan or, in this case too, a player whose contract is up at the end of the season, same as Memphis Depay. And I think United, if United were playing Football Manager at this point, they'd go to the filters and they'd say contract expiring 6 months. And then they would see this group of players. Well, they'd also then say striker or can play as striker. Then they'd click on him and they'd go, right, we can either approach to sign for the end of the season. That doesn't really do anything for us at the moment, let's be honest, because come the end of the season, hopefully we'll have the money we don't have at the moment. We'll have new owners. So let's park that one to one side. With their contracts coming to an end, we can maybe put an offer that's a bit cheaper. Or in the case of Giroud, I don't see why would AC Milan take a loan unless it was a loan with an obligation to buy him at the end. But by the end, we would be able to sign him on a free anyway. So there is no reason for AC Milan to accept a loan deal because he still does play for Milan. Like, Milan still want to keep him. By all accounts, according to those reports we were reading yesterday, yes, United are interested because he's got 6 months left on his contract, but at the same time, he's waiting for an offer from Milan. The expectation is he'll probably get one. Last season, he won Serie A with them. He still is involved there. They've got some old players. They've got Ibra still on the books there, and the same as Olivier Giroud. But the point being is, look, he's still an important player. He still does play for AC Milan. As far as bringing him in for United, look, Olivier Giroud is still a good player, and the evidence in that was that he was playing at the World Cup. He was their starting striker. Now, granted, there were injuries and there were circumstances why other strikers didn't necessarily play at the World Cup. Karim Benzema was injured and then clearly had a falling out. Other players, and Nkunku wasn't available, so I can understand that. But if you ask me right now, if you could get Olivier Giroud at Old Trafford tomorrow, I appreciate the 50-50 sentiment because that's what I'm like in my head. Part of me goes, look, I saw him at the World Cup. He played well. His hold-up play is tremendous, and that's what Erik ten Hag wants. Erik ten Hag does actually sometimes like to play with a taller, more rangy striker, a bit more of a target man. He does fit that, but at the same time, he is 36, and if we did sign him, let's say we signed him on an 80-month contract. Let's say we go to AC Milan and we go, same as Memphis Depay, 5 million. Look, his contract's expiring in the summer. He's 36. You are not going to get a better offer than this, 5 million. And he accepts that. And it's an 80-month contract. So, at the end of next season, his contract would expire. By that point, he would be, 37, 38. I'd be cautious. I would be cautious about that one. Again, the age thing does worry me. But at the same time, we haven't seen that massive decline from him because that's not his game. His game's not about pace. His game's not about beating people anyway. So when you're that kind of striker, you can get away with it more. It's the same with like Ibrahimovic. That's why Ibrahimovic has continued to play so far late in his career because he adapted and he plays as a target man. And I suppose that could work. Again, I would say, what do the wages look like? What does that financial package look like? I do feel like there are better options in January if we're going to go down that route of a player whose contract is expiring in 6 months. But again, at the same time, this guy is a winner. This guy's a winner. He has won things wherever he's been. He's been successful wherever he's been. I think he's underrated in his career, quite honestly. I really, truly do. I think even when he was at Arsenal, won FA Cups at Arsenal, scored goals at Arsenal, they got in Aubameyang and it was like, okay, Olivier Giroud, you're surplus to requirements. Chelsea went, well, he's a good player. They picked him up and he won things at Chelsea. Wins things at Chelsea, then goes to AC Milan, wins Serie A for the first time in like 11 years at that club, which he was involved in. So he does have this winning nous about him. He does have this winning mentality. It just, again, it would scream of United of the past, but because when you sort of scour these stories and you see some of the comments and you see the comments of people saying, I'd take him for 6 months, but I don't think it's a 6 month deal that we would get him for because, again, his contract's expiring. So I don't see why AC Milan would be like, oh yeah, well you can have him to the end of the season. No, I don't think it would work like that. Or even if we agree to transfer, why would Olivier Giroud accept a 6-month deal with United when he's currently on a 6-month deal with AC Milan anyway? It would have to be longer. It would be about 18 months. And there's a much bigger difference between signing Olivier Giroud for 6 months as opposed to 18 months. And I think a loan move's just off the table at this point when it comes to that. So again, this is the problem with January transfer window as well. It's all hypothetical, and let's be honest, there's a high chance that this deal isn't going to happen. I would suspect that AC Milan will offer him a new contract, and he won't be going anywhere. But it will be an interesting one to keep an eye out on, certainly. And look, if he's actively negotiating or expecting the contract from AC Milan, what do you do historically if you want a new contract? You say, Manchester United are interested, and wouldn't you know, a contract just appears on the table. It's strange how that works, isn't it? Let's talk about Sommer as well. I think this is quite an interesting story, particularly after last night where David De Gea, yes, we won 3-0 at Old Trafford, but David De Gea once again with heroics, 3 big saves. 2 of them were particularly good as well. Even Marcel, now keep an eye out for Matchday Reloaded coming later today, because even Marcel has changed his tune. Yes, I know Christmas has come and gone, but we've got a late Christmas miracle. Marcel, it was his birthday on New Year's Day, and he's a changed man. He's a year older, he's a year wiser, and he's been saying nice things about David De Gea. He's even admitted that he was wrong, and that footage is currently up on the channel, of course, but we'll also be showing it later on Matchday Reloaded. But there still is this story about United, or maybe Erik ten Hag not being fully pleased with David De Gea and questioning that if we need to go in a different direction, distribution, which I thought was good from De Gea last night in addition to his saves. And one name that keeps being linked to United, of course, is Yan Sommer, the Borussia Mönchengladbach goalkeeper, who once again, like Memphis Depay, like Olivier Giroud, is out of contract at the end of the season, has about 6 months left on his current deal. Now, according to Alex Crook, Manchester United are ready to bring forward their move for goalkeeper Yan Sommer after being left short-handed by Martin Dubravka's return to Newcastle. United are hoping to persuade Gladbach to allow Sommer to leave for a cut price fee this month. And again, same story. Contracts expiring in the summer, cut price fee, and that's what United are really looking at. Do I expect us to sign Yan Sommer this month? Not really, because they're saying, the report says, they were left a bit short-handed by Martin Dubravka's return to Newcastle, which by all accounts was, I think, might have been triggered by Newcastle, not Manchester United, contrary to reports. But it was always weird the Martin Dubravka one anyway, because Tom Heaton's a better goalkeeper. Tom Heaton's better than Martin Dubravka. Now, I know sometimes there have been situations where maybe Heaton has been injured or something like that. But for me, Tom Heaton's a better number 2. And I feel that we can get to the end of the season, certainly, with just having David De Gea and Tom Heaton, and there are other keepers in there. Bishop's been named on the bench a couple of times. Not that he'd be playing first-team football, but you have to remember with David De Gea very, very, very rarely misses games. One of his greatest abilities, in addition to shot stopping, etc., is his availability. So chances are, and I know you could say, well, Owen, that's taking a gamble, and it's a gamble that Ten Hag and Manchester United don't want to take, but chances are David De Gea is probably going to play. Maybe not the game against Charlton on the 10th, but chances are David De Gea is going to play pretty much every game between now and the end of the season. And there's no concern or worry about that. And the game against Charlton, that would probably be the game that Tom Heaton plays anyway. As far as Yan Sommer, look, we were linked to him during the World Cup. I think we were linked to him during the summer, I believe, as well, when we were linked to a couple of goalkeepers. And maybe this is something that will continue to be, links will continue to be made there. But if Yan Sommer comes in, for me, it has to be as a backup option. It has to be as a number 2. Now, Yan Sommer as a number 2 is a much better number 2 than Martin Dubravka, and probably a better number 2 than Tom Heaton. We're talking about an international player, has a lot of experience, is a decent keeper, his distribution is okay, but he's still nowhere near David De Gea, in my opinion. And as I've said before, and as I said last night during the match review of KG, I think last night is a perfect case study of a game whereby you can say that you want distribution. You can say, you want a goalkeeper that can spray the ball around and can do this, can do that. At the same time, it's better the devil you know, because some other keepers that might be more proficient with their feet, they ain't making those saves that David De Gea made last night. And that was the difference. Yes, we won 3-0, but there could have been 3 goals for Bournemouth. And if the goalkeeper doesn't make those saves, then it could have been a completely different game. And when those goals, when those shots and those saves came as well, a couple of them were when we were 2-0 up. If Bournemouth get one, they could get another one. They could get back in the game. And that's the difference. That's the critical thing with the goalkeeper. Yes, we get so focused nowadays about distribution, which it's not as if De Gea's distribution last night was terrible as well. I thought it was pretty good. His starting position has improved. Now, there have to be certain conditions for him to stay at Old Trafford, i.e. there has to be the right contract. Yes, there has to be reduced terms. But in terms of the options that we get linked to, like Yan Sommer, like others, I go, David De Gea is just as good, if not better. Now, again, if you want to talk about Yan Sommer coming in as a backup option and the way that Alex Crook is framing that, is suggesting that United's move is more triggered by Martin Dubravka, his departure, and suggesting that someone would come in and replace Dubravka as number 2. I'm more than happy with that. I think that's a really good number 2 to have, a really, really good number 2 to have. But as far as, once again, would Gladbach be open to selling their first choice goalkeeper in January just because he's got 6 months left? Or at this stage in Sommer's career, who, by the way, is 34 now, would they just say, look, we're not going to get any money for him anyway? You know, what's the point of, you know, getting 2 or 3 million quid for him when we still need him to the end of the season? So if Sommer does come to United, once again, I would most likely expect that to probably be in the summer. It'll be the summer of Sommer. But I don't expect that one in January. Finally, last night, as I mentioned, at Old Trafford, and we'll go into this in more depth later on today in Matchday Reloaded, Manchester United defeated Bournemouth by 3-0. And another positive result for us. Back-to-back victories at home. I think how many games is this in a row we've won at home now? Is it 6? Something like that. Back-to-back 3-0 victories at home as well. We're level on points with Newcastle in third. Of course, they drew with Arsenal at the Emirates yesterday. The only reason we're in fourth is because of goal difference. We're 1 point behind Man City in second. They have to play Chelsea, of course, and you would probably suspect City will win that game, but you never know. So a really, really good position with Erik ten Hag at the moment. Now, maybe some people are getting more carried away than others. People saying, like KG, we're in title races. But there certainly is a lot to be positive about. And Manchester United are good. Manchester United are decent. We've had a good run of games, but we've most importantly got the job done in all of those run of games as well. Bigger games on the horizon, bigger games to come. Of course, City at Old Trafford, Arsenal at the Emirates. I think come the end of January, it's going to be a really interesting picture to see where we are in terms of the Premier League structure. Are we still going to be, okay, come back down to reality? It's fourth this season. We're fighting for fourth and third. We lost both games. Now let's focus on qualifying for the top 4. Or do we get results out of both games and go, you know what? Why are we looking that way? We should be looking that way. So it's going to be a really interesting month for Manchester United, not just in terms of transfers. Of course, some of the transfers we've covered here. And again, a lot of them, like, you know what it's like. Man United get linked to everyone, and you know when you get weird ones like from L'Equipe the other day, Kolo Muani, 60 million euros, you laugh because you know that's not going to happen. We don't have that money. But I wouldn't rule out business just yet, particularly as I mentioned with United certainly having a type of transfer they're looking to do or they'd be open to doing. It's going to be an interesting month for those reasons in terms of possible additions or maybe departures. But at the same time, it's going to be an interesting month because come the end of it, I think we're going to have a really good viewpoint for where Manchester United are this season and what objectives there are. At the beginning of the season, we were saying probably 5th, maybe 6th again. We just want a style of football. After the first 2 games, we were saying who knows where this season will go. At the end of January, we might have to completely reevaluate our options. And people could say that's flip-flop, but football's like that. You know, objectives and conditions change throughout the season. And I think that will be the case for Manchester United once again in January. And again, it's just going to be fascinating to see. But as far as we're winning and playing well at the moment, I'm all for it. So here's to more. As I mentioned, guys, Matchday Reloaded will be coming later today. All of the reaction from last night's game is up on the channel currently. There's fan views. There's obviously the match view of KG myself. If you go to the shorts, there's the match view highlights too. But for that more in-depth reaction, that's post-game day coverage, that Match Day Reloaded, that will be coming later today, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's transfer view stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.